Hi, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Tim Kachuriak. I'm the Chief Innovation and Optimization Officer for NextAfter, and I'm joined today by my good friend and colleague, John Powell, who's our Senior Director of Research and Education. And we're actually in the studio today. We're just wrapping up shooting our 11-module online course, Turning Facebook Likes into Donors. And John, we have poured a ton of time and effort creating this course, haven't we?
Yes, so imagine you've got 4 years worth of research, over 800 experiments, both an equal part of experiments that isolate elements and then experiments that put all of these things together like coffee, cream, and sugar, ultimately leading us to a nice, proven 4-step model that's going to help them get more emails and more donors.
And so as an advanced preview of this online course, we are going to play session 1 in its entirety for you to preview today. And in this session, we'll give you a broad overview, a 30,000-foot view of the entire course, so you'll understand exactly what to expect when you take it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with session 1, Turning Facebook Likes into Donors. Welcome to Turning Facebook Likes into Donors. This is session 1. My name is Tim Kachuriak. I will be your guide during this entire 11-module online course. Now, I wish I could tell you that it's going to be this easy, that we have some special magical device where you take your Facebook likes, you put them in one end, and out comes names, donors, and dollars out the other end. Unfortunately, that's not the case. However, by completing this online course, you will have an understanding of how to systematically use Facebook to acquire more names and more donors to be able to fuel the impact of your organization. But before we get started, I have to do a little hat tip to Mr. Zuckerberg, because when he first introduced the Facebook back in 2004, I don't think he could have possibly really fathomed how this one invention would change all of our lives. But there's one fact that we can't argue with. Facebook has an incredibly large user base. Over 2 billion monthly active users are on the platform right now. But the number of users is not the most valuable thing about Facebook. The most valuable thing is the fact that they know so many details about all of our lives. And the way that they've been able to accomplish this is with this one simple, iconic device, the Facebook like. By liking things on Facebook, we have told Facebook exactly what we care about and what we're interested in. So for example, if I like and use Apple products, I can like them on Facebook, and now Facebook knows this. If I root for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I do, I can like them on Facebook, and now Facebook knows this. If I prefer Coke over Pepsi, I can like Coke on Facebook, and now Facebook knows this. And so early on, there was this huge, massive rush where every organization, every company, for-profit, nonprofit, was trying to get as many people as possible to like them on Facebook. And Mr. Zuckerberg is sitting there twisting his evil mustache, because what we're doing is making their platform more valuable by telling Facebook exactly all the things that we care about. And the likes just kept piling up and piling up and piling up. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You say, hey, look, I wasn't in on that whole, early Facebook-like thing, and I don't really even have any fans on Facebook. Is this course even going to work for me? Well, I've got great news. You can turn likes into donors even if they aren't your own likes, because every single like equals a data point. And each of these data points fuels and drives Facebook's online advertising platform. And many of us may have tried ads, may have even tried something like this, where we create an ad that says, hey, donate to my nonprofit organization, that leads people to our donation page. We probably, if we tried something like this, we probably experienced something like this. We probably thought something like this, man, Mr. Zuckerberg, you have tricked me, but hold up a second. Maybe, just maybe, we're not doing it right. Well, let's look at this experiment. This is an ABCD test. The goal of this experiment was to try to understand which source is going to produce the lowest potential cost per donor. And what we did is we started with an initial test budget of $20,000, and we broke it up into 4 equal segments of $5,000 each. We went to our top list owners. There was 2 of them. We said, hey, here's $5,000. Here is our offer. Here's our creative. Here's our appeal. Here's our package. And we're going to grade you on these different metrics. And if you win, if you have the lowest cost per donor, you get our entire acquisition budget. We did the same thing with our best list broker. And then we reserved some money to be able to test using Facebook. And we graded the campaign on a total of 11 different metrics, but they fell into 3 different buckets: names, donors, and dollars. Now, here's what we discovered. Compared to the nearest competitor, Facebook produced 193% more leads, more names that were acquired. But not only did it acquire more names, it did it at a 44% lower cost. So Facebook was the cheapest source to acquire new names. When we looked at our total number of donors acquired, compared to the nearest source, Facebook produced 285% more donors than the nearest competitor. And the leads that we acquired through Facebook had a 419% lower cost to acquire. 53 cents to acquire a name or lead on Facebook compared to $277, $475, or $684. And the best part, when we acquired a donor on Facebook, we actually made a $56.19 profit, right? As opposed to losing $81, $107, or $281 through the other sources. So why Facebook as your best acquisition source? Well, we've got a lot of really good reasons. And it's for all of these reasons why me and Mr. Zuckerberg are besties. So our goal in this course is to help you understand how you can be able to leverage the power of Facebook to be able to grow not just your donor base, but your email list. And we're going to actually walk you through step by step exactly how to do that. But before we get started in that, there's a few important points that we have to get out of the way. Number 1, new donors are critical to your survival. Just as you need oxygen to stay alive, your organization needs new donors in order to stay alive. Because as many of us remember from the cinematic masterpiece from the 90s, when Mr. Big Tom Callahan was telling his son Tommy Boy about how auto parts works, and auto parts, you're either growing or you're dying, there ain't no third direction. Well, the same is true in donor development. If we are not constantly growing our donor base, the natural law of attrition will take our donor base down to 0. So by way of illustration, let's say we acquired 1,000 donors today. In 5 years, 75% of those donors will be gone just if we apply the normal nonprofit benchmark attrition rate. By the time we get to 10 years, 96% of our donors are gone. And if we get to 20 years, out of those 1,000 donors we acquire today, only 1 of them will remain. So if we're not acquiring donors, we are eventually going to be out of business. Which brings us to point 2. What got you to where you're at is not going to take you to where you need to go. For many of us, when it comes to new donor acquisition, we have one solution: send more mail. But there's a problem with sending more mail. There's the rising cost of sending mail and the rising cost of postage, and there's this declining response rates that we've been seeing since the 1990s. And so then many of us say, well, gosh, we need to take our acquisition program and go online. But the problem is that we've done online donor acquisition the same way that we've done offline donor acquisition. We rent a bunch of lists, we create an email prospecting campaign, we send it out, and we hope to God that it works, right? But there's 3 problems with a traditional email list rental. First, the barriers to entry are very high. It can cost $5,000 or more to rent a single email list, making it really untenable for many smaller nonprofit organizations that can't risk losing that amount of money. Number 2, you don't own the names. When you rent an email list, you're renting them from an organization. They actually don't even give you the names. You have to give them your creative, and you get 1 shot of making that work. If it doesn't work, well, you're out of luck. And point 3, quality control among email list owners varies wildly. Many list owners don't purge their lists of disengaged subscribers, which means you may be renting names of people that are really not there or not paying attention. So when Facebook came along, many of us said, gosh, this is the digital acquisition messiah. But there's a problem with how we've leveraged Facebook for digital acquisition. Because an engaged Facebook fan is not as valuable as everyone would have you believe. right? So when it first came out, we started posting things on Facebook, and the goal was all about engagement, try to get people to comment on things, trying to get people to like things, and then the money will follow, right? Well, how's that working out for most of us? Well, it's not, right? And there's a problem with this because we become so obsessed with being liked that we've forgotten what it's like to be loved. And when it comes to being a digital fundraiser, we know that love can and must be measured. And it's measured by three things. Am I getting more emails? Am I getting more donors? And am I getting more dollars? And if Facebook can't produce this, then it doesn't matter how many likes I have, it's not helping my organization to move forward. And so that's what we're trying to do here at NextAfter. So a little bit about us. We are a fundraising research lab and consultancy. We work with a lot of large national and international nonprofit organizations. We're trying to understand what works in digital fundraising. And through the course of over $12 million in nonprofit research, we've identified a couple key points that I want to share with you. Number one, people do not go online to give, they go online to get. My mentor and former boss, Tom McCabe, once said to me, he's like, look, we're in the relationship business. Fundraising always happens in the context of a relationship. And if you start that relationship by constantly just asking and saying, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, guess what? You're not going to be able to build a foundation for a relationship where people will want to support you over time. Key point number two, people give to organizations they already agree with and trust. Later in this course, we're going to look at some of the different psychological levers that we can deploy to be able to acquire more names and donors. We're going to talk about how reciprocity and commitment building and using this concept of a yes ladder. We'll talk about how getting people to make small commitments now will set them up to be able to make larger commitments later. And point number three, the size and quality of your email list is the most important factor that will influence your ability to raise money online. Well, why is this true? Well, through the course of our research, we've examined dozens and dozens of nonprofit organizations' data, and we've learned how email is the largest driver of not just revenue, but oftentimes traffic. So let's look at a couple different organizations' Google Analytic data. In this particular example, it's an educational institution. The orange bar represents revenue, the blue line represents traffic, and in this case, email, which is right there in the center, is the largest source of both traffic and online revenue. Let's look at another organization. This time, it's an association, and they get tremendous amounts of organic traffic to their website from a variety of different sources. But even though they get a large amount of traffic from other sources, the largest source of revenue is still email. Faith-based organization. In this case, they get a large amount of revenue and their largest source of traffic comes from organic, but even though email is the third largest source of traffic, it is the largest source of online revenue. And finally, an advocacy organization. It looks very similar to the first organization we looked at where email is the largest source of both traffic and revenue to the organization. So the key point that we take away from this is that if you want to acquire donors on Facebook, you need to focus on email acquisition first, not on donor acquisition. So let's look at an experiment. Hillsdale College. And the background for this experiment is that we wanted to understand which approach would generate the most online donations from Facebook. So we created two different treatments. Version A is a Facebook ad that makes a direct call to action to make your donation now. And it leads people to an online donation landing page. Version B, we focus on giving something of value to a visitor first. We say, hey, we've got this free Constitution 101 course, and then we take them to an online email acquisition landing page where they can sign up to enroll in the course, and then after they've signed up for the course, we present them with this instant donation page where they can give a financial gift. So the question is, which of these different pathways is going to create the most online donations? What is going to generate the highest donation conversion rate? Is it version A, the direct ask, or version B, the indirect ask? And after testing for more than a month, we did not get a single donation through the direct call to action. But we did get donations through the indirect, the three-step option where people received the online course first and had the opportunity to give a gift second. So when it comes to acquiring donors on Facebook, we can't do this. It's not about having a direct call to action to give to me today. It needs to be about this. How can I create an offer, something that has significant value to my potential donor? And how can I offer that to them for free? And then advertise that on Facebook. So as they're scrolling through their Facebook news feed, they have something that's attractive to them, that arrests their attention and gets them wanting to click. And once they click, they're taken to an email acquisition landing page where they can give you their name and email address. So you don't have to rent email addresses anymore. You can actually build your own in-house prospect list that you can go back to over and over and over again. And then once they've signed up to receive your offer, then we present them with an opportunity to give a gift. So now I would like to introduce our instructor for this course, John Powell. And John is going to walk you through what you can expect to get out of this course. He's going to talk about the different modules. He's going to talk about some of the research that we have conducted, and he's going to give you kind of the lay of the land as to what you can expect after completing this online course. So I'm joined now by John Powell, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what we could expect from this course. John?
Right. So there's a couple things that I really want to point out. First is you're not just going to learn the practical principles behind the four-step model. The principles are important. They help us to learn and understand. My goal is I want you to actually be able to create a campaign by the end of this course. I want to make it so incredibly practical that by the end of this course, you'll start a brand new campaign, you'll have known how to execute it in Facebook, and you'll be able to measure it and then continue that campaign long after.
Well, I know that I've taken courses before and I get very frustrated when it's all theoretical, there's not a lot of practical, and I sometimes get a little bit bogged down if it's just too step-by-step, too tactical, and not enough strategy. So it sounds like this course is really going to give our folks a little bit of balance of both.
Yes, in fact, as you can see, we spent some time in the introduction session going over the four-step process that the potential donor would take in order to reach the donation ask. And as you can see, there are a number of different sessions for each. So if the goal is to get people to create a campaign by the end of it, we actually have to reorder the steps to match the creation process. So to your question, is it going to be too tactical? Is it going to be too strategic? No. Take a look at the offer. Here you're going to spend one session talking about what powers the offer and what makes it effective. And then you're going to spend another session actually helping you select an offer. So you're going to get equal parts strategy, equal parts tactics. If you go to the landing page or the email ask, you've got a whole session that's dedicated to helping you communicate the value proposition of the offer in such a way that it's going to give you the best possible chance, right? And then we're actually going to get real tactical and help you create a landing page without necessarily having a team of designer and developers right away.
Now, John, I know that you have spent considerable hours pouring through all of the experiments in our library to be able to create a template for both the email landing page and the instant donation page. Will you share a little bit about kind of some of the meta-analysis work that you did to be able to build that?
Yes. So imagine you've got an entire library of 800 some experiments over the past 4 years specifically focused on nonprofit. It's very exciting to me. And they're not just experiments, they're actually very well put together. So you have some experiments that have individual elements focused and some that have everything put together, which is the perfect formula for teaching because we know what part of the entire whole actually had an effect. So for the landing page, we found over, I think it's 80 plus experiments that just focused solely on that page, which is great. That's more than enough. I mean, you think of a classic academic study, their sample size might equal 1 or 2 or 3 of those experiments combined, but not 80. And then you take a look at the instant donation ask. We've done a lot of testing there. I've found over 140 different experiments that focused just on that aspect. So we're going to be able to help people know with confidence the kind of template and the kind of approach they should start out the gate with to give them the best possible chance of making Facebook kind of their newest potential donor revenue stream.
Well, and I know that there's courses out there that deal with content marketing, and we could probably take a course that will teach us about how to create a better offer.
Right.
And I know that there's many different courses out there on landing page optimization and donation page optimization. There's courses out there that probably deal with that. And there's even courses out there that will teach you how to do Facebook ads, right?
Right.
But I think what's unique about our course is it does all of those different things at the same time, because
Yes.
they're all essential to be successful in turning Facebook likes into donors, correct?
Right, it's very holistic. I was actually a digital manager, marketing manager at a B2B company just before this. And I had to live the life. I actually had to create the campaigns. I actually had to find the resources. And in fact, I had to find and learn the software so that I could build pages without designers and developers. So this was very much my life. And that company was 5 years behind everybody else in the for-profit space. So they're really trying to get their digital they were just starting their digital transformation. And so, in my mind, I needed personally courses and materials and resources that would actually teach me both ends of the spectrum holistically together, not separate. So when I said, okay, I want to create a course for people they can actually use, I want to give them the best of every section, okay, the very best, but in a holistic manner so that they can see how all the pieces connect. For example, I discovered that in the donation section, if you don't tie this in to the rest of it, you're going to lose a significant opportunity of potential instant donors. So having it together holistically makes a huge difference, even between the ad and the email ask. If you don't look at those two things together, side by side, you could potentially losing names and donors. So that's why it's so incredibly important that we have done it this way.
And that's not all, right? I mean, we've got 2 sessions on the offer, 2 on the email, 1 on the donation page, 1, and then actually 3 sessions on Facebook advertising. But there's 3 additional sessions too, John. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
So, imagine you've created your campaign, it's launched, right? We've taken you step by step in Facebook Power Editor, so you actually know what you're doing. But what do we do after that, right? What if I don't get as many instant donations as I had hoped for right off the bat? Well, there are 3 things that you can do right away to kind of jumpstart getting those donations from those new names that you've just captured. And that's what this whole first session is about. Some people would say, well, that really shouldn't be a part of the course, but actually we believe that it should be because, again, if your goal is to turn Facebook into a new stream for donors and dollars, well, you've got to know what to do immediately after capturing that name if they didn't have an instant donation. Next, what if the CFO comes walking in asking you how much you've spent? I mean, this is a new venture. Like, it's going to be pretty scary, right? Well, we're going to prepare you. We've got a whole session dedicated to answering the questions that CFO or somebody from finance is going to have so that not only do you sound like a pro, you know what you're talking about and you can give them confidence. And then, of course, when you're left alone, everybody kind of is like, yep, good job, pat in the back, you're doing a good, what do you do next, right? There's probably, we're going to give you the best possible chance, right? We're going to give you the best starting point. But as you well know, like every audience is slightly different. Every audience needs some tuning, just like every car needs some tuning. So we're going to help you discover what you should focus on next that will give you the most response for the least amount of effort, and we're going to do it systematically. So it's not just going to be, voodoo art. It's actually going to be data. We're going to teach you how to use the data. And if you don't know data, you're scared of numbers, don't worry. We're going to have the tools and resources that will make it easy for you.
So speaking of tools and resources, I know that we actually have made a number of different tools and resources available in this course. Can you share a little bit about some of the tools that people will have access to?
Right, so there's a wide variety, right? So imagine like if you're trying to create an offer, you're trying to balance its potential, appeal versus the potential cost, right? And sometimes that can get a little bit tricky. Well, we've created a resource for that will help you make decisions. It will help make decisions for you or make the decisions easier for you.
Wow.
Right? And so that's what you'll see here. I mean, or if you get to your landing page and you've learned, okay, this is the best template, right? Here are 13 parts. Well, I don't know about you, but I forget things right before I do them. Well, we're going to have a resource available to you that will walk you step by step through the process so you don't forget the important things that will guide you to creating the best copy. And this goes so on and so forth, not just for creating your ad, for creating your donation page, but also as you're answering questions from the CFO. I don't know math. Like, I know math, but like, I'm not a math major, right? There's a reason why I went into marketing, right? So, there's a tool and resource that if I just get the core 4 numbers that I need, it will calculate the rest, and I already know what the rest means. I know how to answer my CFO. All I have to do is just point and just show. Right. It's very easy.
Yeah, and we're not going to leave you hanging either, right? We're also going to be available to help you and guide you. If you have questions along the way, you can always reach out to one of our staff, and we'll be happy to kind of help you get unstuck.
Right.
But John, we're pretty much at the end of this session. I think we've given people a really good understanding as to what they can expect in the course. So what happens next?
So there's this question, this looming question. How exactly do I convince people to go through more steps? Because remember, it seems like if you've been following optimization or you've been following, the latest trends, there's this word out there called friction, right? It's like when I add things to do, I'm adding friction. So the big grand question is how do I get people to go through more steps? Because this is a 4-step model, not a 2-step model. How do I get people to go through more steps and give more money than they would do otherwise? Is it even possible? Well, stay tuned. The next session, we'll give you that strategic underlying secret. It's fundamental for the entire process, in so much that if you don't take the time to really understand this, you're really not going to get the very most out of this course, because for every session thereafter, we're going to draw it out of you through different questions and tools and resources.
Well, sounds like an important session, John. So I guess we'll see you all next session. And we're back. Now, John, you've left us with a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end of that last session, right? I mean, like you said, that there's this strategic, secret, underlying force, right, that is actually going to propel people through this entire 4-step process and ultimately give them more momentum as they reach that conversion opportunity. So what is it?
Yeah, again, this isn't Netflix. We don't have the opportunity to binge our way to the answer, so I can't hold it in. This is the value proposition, but not necessarily the way that you know it for for-profit companies. This is actually on the not-for-profit version. So why should I click on this ad rather than continue my Facebook feed? Why should I click on this page and give you my email rather than not do so? And why should I, most importantly, give you a donation instantly before I consume your offer rather than just going away, consuming your offer, or not doing anything at all?
Yeah, value proposition has always been critically important in
Yes.
every experiment we've ever performed. We've even done studies exclusively trying to understand that with different nonprofit groups. Now, we did a focus group about 2 weeks ago where we took 25 different nonprofit organizations, we brought them together in a room, and we previewed the entire online course. And without having me tell you more about what's inside the course, we thought we'd just have you listen to a couple interviews from them, sharing with you what they were able to take away from the course in their own words.
So you guys were here and you took the course. How was it for you?
Oh, it was fantastic. There's a lot of kind of high-level industry stuff that I could take away, really detailed application that looking forward to plugging into kind of all of our marketing channels right now. My favorite thing was by far how every claim was backed up by some sort of statistical analysis. NextAfter's testing is second to none, so it was really helpful in multiple channels, more than just Facebook.
The steps and the information was very actionable. He went through it very quickly and kept us entertained, and I had a lot of takeaways and can't wait to get home and put it all in practice.
It was great. I have some experience doing Facebook ads, but this was definitely kind of took that next step in explaining all of the kind of tactics and strategy behind the landing page. Opportunities there, and just kind of learning about like what works and what doesn't work in terms of the copy length and different things like that in Facebook ads was really helpful.
There's a component of the course that the team has put together NextAfter in this Facebook course of really how to report correctly to the executive leadership of an organization. And so again, the simplicity in what those things are and the context of how those things compare to the rest of the industry is incredibly valuable.
It was fantastic. I loved learning how we can immediately begin applying our Facebook ads, not just to reach out and get more people engaged with our messaging, but actually converting that engagement into donations, which is ultimately what we need to do so we can continue the ministry. It was excellent. I loved the practical hands-on applications they presented, the case studies. I liked the humor of it, and I definitely worth my time.
There are lots of things where it's like we can immediately apply it to what we're doing as a takeaway, rather than like, okay, we need to think about this more, but it's like, hey, I think I know what to do now.
Okay, so now that you've heard what others have been able to get out of the course, you may be asking yourself, well, how do I get access to this course, right? Well, If you're coming to our NEO Summit in a couple weeks, you will actually be one of the first to be able to have access to the online version of the course. We're actually going to do an official launch at our NEO Summit, September 21 and 22 in Fort Worth. If you still would like to come, we still have a few tickets left. You can go to niosummit.com and register to get your ticket and be one of the first to take the online Facebook likes into donors course. Yes. Now, but we also want to give you an opportunity to sign up for an advanced access to the course. And so you can actually go to this web address, you can register, and as soon as that course is made available to the public, you will be among the first to have access to that course. And we would really like to see you back here on one of these webinars. It's really great. You know, John's going to be doing a lot more of these things. He's got a number of really interesting topics planned. He's got some meta-analyses on gift arrays that you've conducted, which has been interesting. We've got one that we're doing on email appeals, right? We've done an email appeal kind of meta-analysis. And we'll be back here, and we look forward to seeing you on one of our future webinars. Thanks, and have a great day.